Hi, in the previous video I talked about root chakra and how to transcend it. And I don't think 30 minutes is enough, because there are more things that could be said about it, and I believe if you listen to other people or hear other people talk, they will say different things. So while we are still at this level, I think there are more things that I could talk about, and one of them is childhood trauma. And I've experienced people having a lot of trauma in the body staying around root chakra, or that it's in the root chakra. And it's something that I want you to be aware of, that if you had a very rough childhood, there is very possibly a lot of pain that you're gonna encounter, and a lot of pain that you're gonna start dealing with when you're gonna start healing and opening up the root. And it can be very difficult, it can be very painful, but I want you to know that if you are dealing at any point with any pain anywhere in the body, and it comes to the pain that is really staying, and a lot of times people don't know why the pain is there and why does it keep coming there all the time. You might experience it in like a smaller waves. When you really start working out these mental patterns or your past and just start going on this journey, or basically, I don't know how to better say it, when it opens up is how I would say it. When something like this root, when you start working on it and it opens up, you're gonna be met with a lot of pain. It depends on which, it also depends on which point of your body is the pain stored. You can experience it in different ways, but it's something that might come up, and that is what is needed for you. Imagine it as if you had a big well, and throughout the years, and mainly throughout your childhood, that well is being filled up with muck, or with just dirt, or, just bad stuff, because you had very many childhood traumas, and there is a lot of pain stored. And there is no water anymore, it's just that muck. And for you to clear it out, you need to open up that well, and slowly it's gonna bubble up to the surface. So that goes for any point in your spiritual work or your spiritual seeking, whatever you might call it. There will be things that are gonna be bubbling up. And what's important is that you do not resist it. And that's very hard and scary, I understand. But I'm trying to be very real with you and making you aware that if you are doing any practice, or if you are getting anywhere and you start having pains come up, start to notice and become more aware of the thoughts that trigger them. It might be situations, of course, but it's mostly thoughts. Or sometimes it might feel like the pain or the uncomfortable feeling comes up as if by itself. And then thoughts follow. Know that this is something that is stored in the body, and it's there because the body has its own memory. And I can make a reference to when I talked about the koshas, or layers of the body, that there is, of course, the mind layer. The mind has memory, but on the physical level and on the energetical level, there is memory. So it's not just in your mind that you're remembering things like in images, but there is also the memory of the body. And usually the body keeps that memory around. Why does it do it? The pain stays in the body because there is a lot of identity with it. There is a lot of reliving it, a lot of refeeding it. If you know Eckhart Tolle, the way he talks about it is the pain body. And you are unconsciously know that nearly everyone does it. Everyone has something, unless they are very conscious and have this pain body, they have none of it, then they don't do it. But on this level, you are unconsciously performing an action or getting yourself in situations in which you strengthen that pain body. What does it mean? You're strengthening your own trauma and you're suffering it, but at the same time, something in you likes to, something in you wants to, I throw my hands around when I talk, something in you wants to refeed this trauma. It's as if that trauma is keeping itself alive. And it might be very shocking for someone who never even became aware of this, but you are refeeding your own traumas or keeping them around and keeping them alive. The best way to deal with this pain, as I said, when it bubbles up, is to not resist it. And as I said, it's scary. The pain comes over like you don't know what to do, and everyone has different traumas, so the mind response is gonna be different, the reactions are gonna be different. But the work with this is that you need to be more aware of these things happening, be more alert, and your practices are gonna help you with it, because you will learn to, with practice, you learn to take your attention off your mind. And then space can come in. You can be more spacious and watch things with more distance, you could say. Then you have enough space in you. The attention is enough in your control. It's no longer running immediately to the mind. There is enough control and enough freedom of the attention to see, and of the awareness to see that you are having this kind of reaction to that kind of pain, that the mind is thinking these things about it. Then you are more able to not go with those thoughts. And that is something that we talked about in the previous video, where I said how my mind would just go, this is bad, this is wrong, what is happening, and just freak out. And it had so much power. I just stopped the experience that was happening, but in the end it was what was meant to happen. It was the right thing. If you haven't seen it, you gotta check it out. Then you are able, even with those thoughts, to really overcome it. It's, in the end, if I'm to put it the most simple, it's about surrender. If you are able to surrender into that discomfort and just watch it the same way when you meditate, for example, and you watch the breath, you don't judge it, you don't think anything about it, you don't say this is good, bad, I need to breathe like this, that, and if you are, then don't do it. But you will learn to just watch, just observe, without judgment, just observe your breath or anything that you do during your practice. It's about the attention, just being there without the mind. And your attention without the mind has very good healing abilities. So when you are able, at any point, with any chakras, to look at that discomfort and that pain that comes up. And you don't even need to call it pain. We don't need to call it pain, because when I say pain, your mind says bad. And if I say pleasure, your mind says good. But just see it as a sensation. See it as an energy that comes up. And you watch it. Sit down with it and watch it. And if you are able to do this early on, then you will go really far and very quickly. Because this is something that as I said before, at one point you will have to be not scared of any feeling or situation. And if you are starting to master this thing early on, then you're gonna be doing really good. Because you are gonna be able to heal from any past pain with this thing. Because the way it relives itself is in the memory, obviously, but you have many people who have a trauma and then they keep being the victim. Yes, you can say they are the victim, but in their head, the victimization of it is exactly what makes you hold on. And this is, it might sound strange to hear it at first, but with this understanding, I was able to heal quite a few people. And I didn't even have to tell them that this is what I'm doing. It was just getting them to the point where they no longer take themselves as the victim. Because they would be, I am the victim and this is what happened to me. And they carry it the whole life. The identity is built around it. And you see many people keeping the victim identity and being in pain. Because the thoughts would constantly relive it. And how dreadful life it is. And maybe you can reflect yourself now how dreadful it is to be, for example, working or going down the street or doing whatever, talking with people, and in the back you still have a dialogue talking about how your dad hurt you, how your mom did this, how this happened when you were 12, how they ruined your whole life and now you cannot live. All those thoughts, you take yourself as the victim. It's not about forgetting it. Don't try to forget things that happen to you, because the bad experiences are exactly the ones that are most profound and the ones that give you the most. So remember them, and if it's a bad experience, remember it extra good so you don't get in the same situation ever again. And if someone is in that situation, you will be so good at helping them, and you will be so much more authentic because of it happening, or more understanding. It enriches you. But when it comes to the victim identity, it is what keeps you unable to let it go. Because if you are the victim, you can never be free of what happened to you in the past. I'll give you an example, okay? With one person that I know very well, he had a lot of childhood trauma. And when it came to one particular that kept replaying in his mind and that really stuck around, and not only did he feel it in the root chakra, it messed him up around his throat also, because he wanted to say something, he wanted to tell them, he wanted to go to his parents and tell them, but it was only like in his inner dialogue. So what would happen? At some point, there would be two quote-unquote entities in the mind. One would always come and be the victim, talk about how they've hurt him, how much pain they inflicted on him, how much he tried, but blah blah blah, many things. So there is this inner dialogue. And then comes in the second one, which tells the first one to shut up. So there is two in your head. I asked him, so which one are you? He was thinking and he's like, I don't know, I guess I'm the second one. And I'm like, well, if you are the second one, then who's the first one? And after some thinking, after some reflecting, he said, well, I'm the first one for a while, but then a second one comes in and that's really me, and then I tell the first one to shut up because the first one is annoying me. I'm like, well, that's a bit insane, isn't it? That you have two people talk in the same voice in your head and argue with each other. And he's like, yeah, I never thought about it. So I'm like, yeah. So how about you stop having the first one? Both are your ego in this moment. It's very apparent that both are the same one, just playing both sides. It's your mind, it's your ego playing tricks. But I've basically helped him use the ego, a part of the ego which seemed more tame, to get rid of the other part. So in this way, he would start going with the second one every time. So he became more aware of when the first one, the victim, came in, and he realized that that's not him. He just took it as, oh, that's not me, that's not me. I always come later and tell him to shut up. It's funny. and so thanks to that, there was enough disidentification that he was able to drop it. Because what is he gonna do? It keeps playing out in his whole life, and he doesn't know why he's so upset about it. But because it happened so long ago, yet he cannot let it go. Because he still takes himself as the victim that comes in and complains. It sticks around because you think that you are that one. It happened to you. It happened to your body. That pain happened, that trauma, those people did it. Those people done those things in that situation back then. But you are not the one thinking it now. You are not the one, the voice in the head. It only stays because you think you are them. It only stays because you believe in what that voice says and you take it as yourself. But you are not that one. Even if you were the one back then who got beat or assaulted, I don't know. Remember it. Okay, it happened. Accept it. You probably did accept it that it happened, but it sticks around in the mind. And then so much pain comes in because of that. And when it comes to root chakra, it's from parents. There might be many things in you, and you have to reflect on yourself and be more aware of the thoughts that come in your head. Be rather more aware now of the ones that keep being there all the time, looping, replaying themselves. And also of the overthinking or anything that might happen to you. Everyone has a different psyche, but it's always very simple once you see it for what it is. So just know that the voice in the head, being the victim, is not you. And if you're having two dialogues play out, you have your mind basically argue with yourself. You're having arguments with yourself, which is not so uncommon, I would say. Like, it depends on your conditioning, but then you can have two arguments with yourself. So basically you have two people who are fighting in your mind. Then reflect on which one you are and why are there two, which is silly. I'll do one more video on root chakra, talking about nature a little bit more. I hope I shed light on something that might resonate with you, and I wish you good luck. Have a nice day. Bye bye.